So even though the scriptures will tell us that whenever we're united with the object of our desire, the bliss of the self arises. Whenever we plunge into, whenever the thoughts are removed, the bliss of the self arises. When are the thoughts removed? When we when we are united with the objects of our desire, our thoughts are not there anymore momentarily. The thinking is there while we're seeking the object we desire, but when we're just united with it, we're happy, so we're not thinking anymore. And the happiness, the bliss of the self, the happiness arises. If we're fainted, if we're in samadhi, if we're in deep sleep, again, the thoughts are gone and the bliss of the self arises. This is all these teachings are to direct us, to convince us that happiness doesn't reside in any of these objects, it only resides within, in the self. So we say, the self is experienced, we become one with the self in these moments. But actually, it's not the same. This is still all Maya. It's still Maya. We have to let go of all of this stuff. This is still all experience for the body-mind. This is still all body experience. This is still all body knowledge. We have to get rid of all the body experience, all the body knowledge, remove all objects in our own time. This is total surrender, total effacement. We have to give everything up. Body, mind, world. When we give up, and more than that, we have to give up ourself, the ego. In fact, all we have to give up is the ego. And then it's the same as renouncing all of Maya. Maya and ego are the same. Maya and ignorance are the same.
So that's when the contradiction comes, because on one hand, when you go to sleep, when you truly, the ego does not exist. It's not even silent. It is a silence beyond silence. It is literally baseline. But on the other hand, when you hear all these things about brightness and this and that, then always a thought: to whom does this experience occur, or to who recognizes this, or who sees the sky? That's where
So again, the ego does exist in deep sleep. So often the Ramana will say there's no ego in deep sleep. It's just the self. But actually the ego does exist in deep sleep. That's why when we fall asleep into deep sleep, we don't attain self-realization. So the ego is still there, but we say it's there in seed form. Seed form means potential. It's there, dormant, like a dormant volcano. When I was at school and we learnt geography lessons, we learnt there were three types of volcano. There was the extinct volcano, which can never rise again, never erupt again. There was the active volcano, which is erupting every now and again. And then there's a dormant volcano. The dormant actually comes from the Latin, to mean the Latin verb to sleep. That's right, isn't it, Massimo? Is it the same in Italian? Must be, yeah? Yeah. There we go. So, it comes from the Latin to sleep. So when we're asleep, the ego is dormant. The ego is sleeping, which is why when we wake up, it comes back again. If it had truly gone, that would be realization. This is why we need the sadhana, to remove the ego at its root. So even a deep sleep state is ignorance. In Vedanta, you'll hear it called the causal body. They'll call the deep sleep state ignorance, or they'll call it the causal body. Causal means seed form. It means that it's still there in the seed form, and the seed causes, this is why it's called the causal body, the seed causes the rest of the plant to sprout, to grow, isn't it? It all comes from that seed. The shoots, the roots, the leaves, the flowers, the whole life, the whole of the Maya comes from that seed. So they call the world, the body in the world is the gross body. Gross meaning coarse. The mind And the senses are the subtle body. Well, the mind is the subtle body. And then when you're in deep sleep, there's no gross body. There's no subtle body. The gross body is the body. The subtle body is the mind. But there is a seed body there, a causal body still there in seed form, dormant. The ego's there. It's just hiding, like the dormant volcano. So this is the teaching in Vedanta of the three bodies: causal body, subtle body, gross body. Three bodies. And the teaching. Why do we have this teaching in Vedanta of these three bodies? Because what you are, the self, is neither of these three. Just the type of teaching, just again to connect some more dots for people who are into Vedanta. Each of these bodies, you might have noticed, relates to each of the three states. What are the three states? Waking, dream, deep sleep. You see? In the waking state, we have a gross body that exists. And the subtle body is there too. And the causal body is there too. In the dream state, the gross body is not here, but there's a dream body instead. It's a subtle body manifesting as a gross body. So that's the dream state, which is linked to the subtle body, the mind. And then in deep sleep, it's causal body. All these three are ignorance. And what we really are is none of these three, but we are the fourth. We are the self. And some of you will know this is called Turiya. Turiya means the fourth. Turiya. And it's very famously talked about it in an Upanishad. The Mandukya Upanishad. And again, another very famous Upanishad. I think it's the shortest Upanishad. And there's a very famous commentary by Gaudapada. Gaudapada was one of the early, he was a pre-Shankara Advaita guru. His commentary upon the Mandukya Upanishad, called the Mandukya Karika. Karika means commentary. In this context, is very, very important Advaita text. And again, he explains all of this in that commentary, what I'm teaching you now. And you can read it on tomdas.com if you want to. I've blogged it on there a while back if you want to. Do not think that you're the body. Don't be afraid of this world. This is a dream. You are the self. Wake up. Be what you are. Don't waste your days tending to the body. Only tending to the body, I should say. Of course, you have to attend to the body. You have to tend to the body. You've got to attend to the body. You've got to look after it. But don't waste your days preening when you don't need to. Let go of this. Go beyond all this. Soon the body will be dead. And then what? You've been given a human birth. God has granted you, through grace, a human birth. Why? To realize Him. He's asking you to come home. You're saying to yourself, I've had enough of this Maya now. I want to come home. So you have created this, so you can come home. It's a nice adventure for you. So the outer guru, outer teacher, which is the fake teacher, points you within to the true teacher. True meaning Sat, Satguru. Satguru is the true teacher. Satguru is the true teacher. It never refers to an external teacher, really. Although it's sometimes used to mean, like some people have many gurus. They might have 5 or 6 gurus, but then they'll have a main guru. So that's their Satguru. The true Satguru means you let go of everything outward, all of Maya, and then what you're left with is that pure consciousness, which is beyond consciousness. It's pure consciousness. But when there's no object in it, it cannot even be said to be consciousness. So sometimes it's said to be beyond consciousness. It's not beyond consciousness. It's just pure consciousness, devoid of any objects. But then it's no longer consciousness because there's nothing to be conscious of. It's just pure being.